This season of the Urban Conservative Podcast is brought to you by Newton for Senate, working to improve education, reduce taxes, and keep North Carolina #1 for business. Find out more at newtonforsenate.com. This episode of the Urban Conservative has also been sponsored by Case Technology Consulting. Help your business get value out of its data and become more efficient and streamlined. Case Technology Consulting. Check out the link in the description. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what it is. It is a Monday morning. It is time for Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. I got to thank each and every one of y'all for dropping in and checking out the platform and the podcast. If you haven't done so already, we need you to jump over to tuconservative.com. Grab yourself a membership. Support what we do, which is sharing conservative values and principles and the benefits of conservative policies to urban communities across this wonderful and amazing and great nation of ours. Got to give y'all the real quick, without spilling everything, got to give y'all the quick mug shot. This is what we on right now. We on that Tyrus Kemp coffee this morning. So shouts out to the homeboy Tyrus Kemp. Regular black mug, folks. That's how we doing it on a Monday morning. Regular black mug. Before we get started, got to plug a few things. You know how we do around these parts. Got to give a big shout out to the Granville GOP. Shout out to Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. Y'all are about to see a picture of him at an interesting place. But shouts out to him, Michael Magnati, and everybody out in Granville County. This is their fundraiser. It is going down with Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson on September 27th. It is only $35 a person, and you will be entered to win a Coyote 10 Glock 19. The fundraiser will benefit Granville County GOP endorsed candidates. So again, show some love to the Granville GOP, support what they're doing there. I know there's a bunch of county GOPs here in North Carolina that have gun raffles and all of that kind of fun stuff popping right now. So again, shouts out to the Granville GOP. We got to big them up. Also, I got to give a big shout out to the Frederick Douglass Foundation in North Carolina. We have our conservative men's huddle coming up on September 9th. I'm excited about that because we're going to be talking about the men's position on abortion. We're going to be talking about the attack on masculinity in our country, and we're going to be talking about some stuff with the police. So September 9th, I'll be plugging that tomorrow so you can get that, but you go to menshuddlefayetteville.eventbrite.com to get that. And again, big shouts out to Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson. So, ladies and gentlemen and ladies, Republican debate is in the books. I know it's a couple of days. It was last week. I drove up to Milwaukee. I got to give a big shout out to everybody that was up in Milwaukee. And one person in particular that I need to thank and that I think did an amazing job at the RNC debate is our North Carolina RNC committee woman, Keisha Brassington, who opened up the RNC debate with the prayer, and she was the reason that I got in the building. So thank you so much, Keisha, for all that you do for the North Carolina Republican Party. I really appreciate you. We really appreciate you, and thank you for everything. But I did have an opportunity, folks, to get out there to Milwaukee. First and foremost, before I even talk about the debate, let me just tell y'all this. Milwaukee is a beautiful city. It is a fantastically beautiful city, and I see why the RNC keeps going back to Milwaukee for things. I totally understand it. I get it. It's a beautiful city, and I'm looking forward to the RNC convention next year in July. We're going to have an urban conservative table, so make sure y'all come on out there. But without further ado, let's talk about it, folks. The debate. I was blown away at the opportunity to meet so many wonderful people. I just told y'all you would see a picture of Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, right? Well, none other than the Lieutenant Governor and Marjorie Taylor Greene. I had an opportunity to see both of them. Congressman Byron Donalds, there's me and MGT. Marjorie Taylor MTG, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and then I got to meet Congressman Chip Roy, and that, I'll be honest with you, was a highlight for me. We sat and we stood and we spoke for about 10 minutes, really gracious with his time, wonderful patriot for the country. So y'all want to know what I think about the debate? Well, here's the bottom line. Trump wasn't there. Okay. It just wasn't the same without the guy there, you know? And I know he had this thing going on. I haven't watched it yet, but fact of the matter is there was a couple of zingers that night. There was a few zingers being tossed about at the debate. Now, obviously, a lot of folks, I won't say everybody, but a lot of folks went into this debate liking Vivek Ramaswamy, and they didn't come out liking that. I saw a lot of folks that came out on the other end that were like, yeah, that really wasn't my shtick. I'll tell you the one thing that I found, that moment where he was like, all right, now that we've gotten over our pre-canned speeches, as he proceeded to stand up there and give pre-canned responses and canned respect, like, so I wasn't a fan of the Vivek guy. I think he's trying too hard. And then I went back and I found a video, and I might be able to pull it up, where he was given I guess it was a high school commencement speech or something like that. And the dude was like, throughout my high school career, what? Who knew that high school was a career? Like, it's just that overly polished, glib chin. Like, I have to like fight to smile, and I'm purposefully trying to play. It didn't bode well for me. I also was thoroughly surprised at how well Doug Burgum did. The guy, the governor. I thought he was poignant. I think he gave bright and smart answers. I think coming from the perspective of a governor is always a good thing. So I was very surprised with Doug Burgum's responses to the questions. I just felt like Asa Hutchinson was a little too tired for me. Like, the guy was leaning the whole time, so I just felt like he was too tired. Um, then Chris Christie. I think Chris Christie just did Chris Christie. That's what Chris Christie does. He goes in, he throws bombs, he throws haymakers, he talks junk. I think he was telling the truth about a lot of stuff. And I'm going to back up for a second. There was a moment in the debate where they talked about January 6th and they talked about what Pence did that day. And it was good to see that everybody agreed on stage that Mike Pence did the right thing that day. Now, there are some folks who love President Trump who will say, oh, Pence should have did this, Pence should have did that. Well, let me tell you something. It is not in the vice president's power to do what Trump wanted him to do. I like Trump. I support Trump, but that just wasn't in his power to do. I think Mike Pence did the right thing. I think he's genuine. I really think what you see is what you get with him. If I had to say who was the most presidential, it was between Pence and Nikki Haley. Now, before I get on to the Pence thing, let me just say this about Nikki Haley. I was thoroughly surprised at how well she performed during this debate. I was extremely surprised. She was composed. I think she played the woman card at the right exact time. I'm never a fan of playing a card, but I think when they were going back and forth, she did the right thing by playing the woman card. So I'll give her that. I think that was a good move. Then I also think that DeSantis didn't hurt himself. He didn't really hurt himself. Not that he's got a shot, looking at Trump's number. Not that I think anybody has a shot. What I think this was more of like the race for VP, right? Who's going to get Trump's VP pick? But DeSantis didn't hurt himself. I think that there was a point where it became obvious that they were all thankful that Trump wasn't there. And that, I think, resonated with the way Ron DeSantis was responding to the questions and things of that nature. And one thing I will say, what I found interesting is Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm going to go back here. Vivek didn't say a damn thing. When they got to the abortion question, Vivek was quiet. He was extremely quiet about that. He didn't chime in. He didn't pitch in. He didn't say much, which is telling to me. And look, we don't have a religious test in this country. You don't have to be of one religious persuasion or another to run for office in this country. But what I do like my politicians to do is to be upfront. So when he kept saying God, 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 when Vivek was saying God, 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 I had people next to me asking me, is he a Christian? And I'm like, nah, I don't know. I think the guy's a Hindu. Not that I have a problem with that. That's what you want to go with. That's what you want to go with. But I just think it's interesting when politicians tell the lie of omission. They omit their religion, they omit their position on something. So that's another thing. And then I just wish Tim Scott would have had a stronger presence on stage. I really wish Tim would have brought some umph, some like, I don't know, I hate to say some black to it. I don't know how to phrase that, but I just wish Tim Scott would have did better. I think we'll see him come out swinging a little harder in the next debate. But for overall presidency-ness, right? Like, who is the most presidential? I'd have to give that to Mike Pence, and I'd have to give that to Nikki Haley. Who do I think actually did the best in the debate with substantive points, poignant answers to questions? I'd have to give that to Doug Burgum. I think he did a great job. He was clear and concise. He laid out what he would do from a policy position to solve some of the issues. And then, if I had to say who is the under surprise performance of the night, it would definitely have to be Nikki Haley. So there you have my quick take on the debate. That was an interesting experience to go out there to Milwaukee. I got to give a big shout out to Moms for Liberty. I had the opportunity to go to a Moms for Liberty education policy luncheon. That was off the hook. So yeah, definitely want to give a big shout out to Moms for Liberty and the whole crew. So there you have it. My take on the debate. We're going to come back after this commercial break. They were giving Trump hell. Okay. They were giving Trump absolute hell when he talked a few years ago about they're sending over rapists, they're sending over criminals, they're sending over drug dealers. They're not sending their best and bright over the border. They're sending, criminals and drug dealers and rapists and all of that kind of stuff. And we have another story about this, about the idea, okay? The idea of illegal aliens. All they want is asylum. We'll be right back here on Top of the Morning. Don't go nowhere. This season of the Urban Conservative Podcast is brought to you by Newton for Senate, working to improve education, reduce taxes, and keep North Carolina #1 for business. Find out more at newtonforsenate.com. This episode of the Urban Conservative has also been sponsored by Case Technology Consulting. Help your business get value out of its data and become more efficient and streamlined. Case Technology Consulting. Check out the link in the description. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're back. Top of the morning here on the Urban Conservative. I am Abdul Ali. I got to give a big shout out to my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto. If you haven't done so already, you see that Cash App on the screen, $ TU Conservative. Also, the website, tuconservative.com. Yeah, man. Here's the thing, right? You have a jackass as vice president. You have a barely coherent, barely walking jackass as president. And I said it. You can get mad if you want to. If you don't like the fact that I said jackass, you'll be all right and just go lick your wounds in the corner. But we have two jackasses running the country right now, is what we have. We have zero immigration policy in this country right now. And what we're dealing with is the lady you see in the middle is a Nicaraguan illegal alien that was welcomed in by the Biden administration 7 months ago and released with a notice to report via parole. Now, a Virginia police officer is suffering a fractured skull, vertebrae, and permanent and significant impairment as a result of this person driving drunk. Okay? As a result of this genius driving drunk, we now have to deal with a Chesapeake officer with a skull fracture. Okay. And this genius you see on the screen, this happened around 2:30 a.m. Saturday near the intersection of South Military Highway and I-464 while the officer was conducting a traffic stop. The officer had on his emergency lights at the time when police say a vehicle driven by 30-year-old Yacarelli Diaz Castro slammed into the officer's vehicle, sending him over the guardrail. The officer was taken to Centara Norfolk General Hospital, where he was diagnosed with a skull fracture and a fracture of the C6 vertebrae. According to court documents, Diaz Castro had several empty beer cans in the floor of her vehicle and had a strong odor of alcohol after the crash. She was placed under arrest at 4:25 after failing 2 field sobriety tests. She later consented to having her blood drawn, and an analysis is pending. Police say Diaz Castro is a Nicaraguan national. She don't belong here. Who says she's only been in the U.S. for about 7 months. She was not licensed to drive a vehicle. Why? I'm not even going to go there. That's all I need to say. She wasn't licensed to drive a vehicle. Okay. Police are seeking charges of maiming another, resulting from the driving while intoxicated and driving without a license, as well as a misdemeanor failure to move over charge. Anyone with information about the incident is urged to call 1-888-LOCK-YOU-UP. Submit a tip to p3tips.com on their smartphone. A GoFundMe account has been established to assist the officer injured in the crash and his family. And we'll post that on the Urban Conservative. But this is a prime example, ladies and gentlemen, a prime example of the jackassery that is the Biden administration's immigration policy. This catch you can go in the country with a promise to appear. First thing you did was cross our border illegally. That's the first mistake you make. And then y'all are allowing these people full carte blanche just to run amok. You've got these people raping children. You've got these people crashing and injuring police officers. That man is never going to be the same again as a result of the actions of this lady. It is absolutely disgusting, folks. Absolutely certified 1,000,000% disgusting. I hope they throw that ass under the jail and then deport her when she is done, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be right back here on Top of the Morning after this commercial break. Don't go nowhere. Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com. There comes a time we all have to consider what to do with our remains when we pass away. From the company that brought you the Gender Reassignment Home Kit comes Body Bag Biodegradable Bags. That's right. We take your body, put it in our biodegradable bags, and plant you as a tree so people can eat your nuts forever. Brought to you by Regenerex, makers of Libtrol and other fine products.
If you love to drink Four Loko, but Braveheart will always be your favorite movie of all time, you're going to love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, you enjoy pickup trucks and listening to Coolio? Well, then you going to love the Urban Conservative.
First of all, how you gonna tell me we not in a pandemonium? Not only are we in a pandemonium, but we in a regression too. We are in a regression. Get out of here.
I don't know why I'm sitting in this chair. It's really hot. Having a suit, it's like 99 degrees in DC. Who's on this phone? Who am I talking to? Why did DC? Who gave me the phone? Jill, who gave me the phone? Hey, whose dog is this? I don't even know whose dog this is. Hello? If you're listening to me on the phone, I don't know whose dog this is. You're listening to the Urban Conservative? Come on, man.
Attention, maggot. Do you enjoy the smell of freshly ejected 5.56 millimeter ammunition? And for breakfast, you enjoy scrambled eggs with no salt, no pepper, and you enjoy grits, no salt, no pepper, no butter? Then you are going to love the Urban Conservative. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're back. Top of the morning. I'm only going to say this. New York, y'all had an opportunity to elect a governor that was going to treat y'all right, that was going to do the right thing by you. Our homeboy Lee Zeldin was the right pick for governor. I don't know what y'all were thinking in New York, but as a result of not having Lee Zeldin in New York, what you all are dealing with is a epidemic of immigration. And the problem is New Yorkers aren't being treated as well, given the same resources, given the same thing as these illegal immigrants. And over this past weekend, tension continued to build in a neighborhood on Staten Island where residents blasted the decision to use a former school to house migrants. Angers flared up on Friday after dozens of asylum seekers were bused to a Catholic school, St. John Via Academy for Housing in the Arachard neighborhood. In response to the arrival, hundreds of residents began protesting, with 3 of them arrested for obstructing governmental administration. Opposition continues over the shelter, which is now open. Saturday saw a significant police presence in the area in light of expected protests. Hours after they arrived, residents had a short-lived victory. A judge granted a temporary restraining order blocking the city, only to be reversed hours later when the city wanted to appeal. The mayor's office said it empathizes with the residents and is reminding them this is a federal problem that can only be solved by leaders in Washington, D.C. I'm going to stop right there and say, why in the would you, Eric Adams, say to these people, we're a sanctuary city. We're always going to be a sanctuary city. Do I need to pull that back up? Do I need to actually pull up what you said when you said it, Mr. Mayor? And now that your people are pissed off about it, you have this idea that it's a federal problem. Let's pass the buck. That's what they do in politics, folks. They pass the buck. So keep protesting, keep letting them know you don't want illegal people. They're bringing the drugs, the fentanyls crossing the southern border. Y'all see what's happening. We just covered the story of this illegal who's been basically welcomed into the country by the Biden administration. Here, just come in and do what you will. I mean, what's the point of following the rules? If they don't got to follow the rules and everybody else does, what's the point? So, ladies and gentlemen, elections have consequences. Make sure you keep your eye on who's running for office. We got to do better in New York. So for my twin brother, Raheem Architect Soto, you have been checking out Top of the Morning here on the Urban Conservative. We'll check y'all later for the Urban Conservative podcast. Have a positive and productive Monday.